I'm Grace Torrey, and you're listening to That Girl the Podcast. Grab a beverage of choice and settle in, because the new episode is starting now. Hey guys, what is up? It's your girl, Grace Torrey, and I am back with a whole new podcast episode. Today we are going to be talking about 23 lessons I learned in 2023. I'm really excited about this because boy did this year challenge me. I grew a lot, I learned a lot, and I feel like that's like a common consensus among all of us. So if you have any big lessons that you learned in 2023 and you are on a platform where you're able to comment below, go ahead and comment below what that was. If not, I'll post something on Instagram for you to comment down below. But I want to know what your lessons were as well as mine. I feel like we can all come together as like a community and talk about it, and that would be a vibe since, you know, the podcast is based on us being a community. But other than that, obviously, we still have to talk about my 23 lessons, so let's go ahead and jump on into it. If you aren't already, make sure to follow on whatever platform you're currently listening or watching on, and share with the bestie who you think would also enjoy this episode. Oh, I forgot to mention, there's going to be a big announcement at the end. I don't know if it's a big announcement, but stick around if you want to hear the big announcement. I'm going to do it at the end because I want the girlies who like are part of the community to know, because it's more podcast related than this episode related. So if you want to know a big surprise that's coming in 2024, then stick around till the end. So we're just jumping on in. The first lesson I have is something I've done for a while now, and I think that the benefits have really started to pay off in 2023, so I've noticed it more. So I wanted to share it with you, and that is use what you know to expand who you know. Josh and I do a lot of things because we have connections. A lot of things we wouldn't be able to do had we not had connections, whether it be expensive or just like exclusivity or things like that. We have a lot of opportunities come our way simply because we know the right person. So one thing that I do is I use what I know to expand who I know and expand my network. And I'm not saying use people for things, but definitely work on expanding your network to get to know more people in more areas of life, because you can learn a lot from each other. Like, I have friends in industries that I never would have pictured myself being in, but I've learned a lot from their industry because of that, and we share that knowledge, and I just use what I know to expand who I know, and it's made my life a lot richer. It's made my life a lot more better, I guess. It's just like something that I haven't really thought about, but don't be afraid to expand your network and think of ways to grow, not just like, you know, use people for favors or whatever. That's not what I'm saying at all, but to enrich your own knowledge and get a better point of view of how the world works by seeing things through other people's eyes. Did that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So number 2, your self-worth isn't tied to how much someone likes you. Boy, oh boy, has it taken me years to understand this. As someone who has had trauma related to abandonment issues and things like that, I have always been someone who won't abandon anyone, and I will do it to the point that they have abandoned me and I'm still trying. Like, it's kind of like Taylor Swift Mirror Ball, where it's like, I'm still up there trying to get you to look at me, like doing everything I can, like being, I don't know, like instead of letting that relationship go and understanding that it has nothing to do with me, sometimes you just aren't people's cup of tea. I have pushed people to try and make them like me because I couldn't accept that I'm just not their cup of tea. Like, it doesn't mean that my self-worth is any less. It doesn't mean that their self-worth is any less. We just aren't a good match. And, you know, people have done some pretty bad things to me, and I've slipped it under the rug and just tried to continually get them to like me and want to be around me because I couldn't accept that they didn't like me for whatever reason. It doesn't matter what the reason is. You need to get content with the idea that people aren't going to like you, and you don't need to know why. You don't need closure for every single situation. It will drive you insane if you feel like you need closure. Sometimes things just don't work, and sometimes people just don't like you, and sometimes people treat you badly, and it has nothing to do with you or your self-worth. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect and I didn't do anything wrong and whatever. Like, obviously there are things that lead to certain situations, and maybe there's things I did wrong that I didn't know about, so I didn't apologize or things like that. Like, there's always more to every story, but at the end of the day, your self-worth is not tied to how much someone likes you. So whether it's a family member or a friend or a situationship or whatever, it's okay to let that go. I'm giving you permission to let relationships go that don't serve you and don't serve the other person and are hurting both of you in the long run, because your self-worth is not tied to them. I lost a lot of relationships this year simply because I realized my self-worth is not tied to how much they like me, and so I let that relationship go. I initiated the end of that relationship because it was harmful to me and to them, and it wasn't helping anyone. So it is something that I'm happy to talk to you about if you need someone to reassure you that you're making the right decision to end a relationship, because sometimes that's better than keeping it going. I don't think people teach you that it's okay to end a relationship sometimes. People teach you to always be the bigger person and always reach out and always say you're sorry. And there's times when relationships shouldn't be a thing. Like, there's times when you are not meant to be in a relationship with someone, whether that is a friendship, a family member, or whatever. And that is okay. And I'm giving you permission. If you feel intuitively like they're not meant to be in your life and you're kind of beating a dead horse, whatever the term is for that, then listen to that feeling. I promise you it's okay. Your self-worth is not tied to how many people like you. Whether that person is a family member or not, I promise you're going to be okay. Number 3 is make healthier decisions for you. Eat healthier for you. Go to the gym for you. It's not for anybody else. I spent a lot of time thinking I needed to look a certain way, eat a certain way, follow a strict diet for everybody else and how they perceive me. But it's not for them. It's for me. It's for my mental health feeling better because I feel better when I work out. It's for my mental health feeling better because I eat better, or I feel better when I eat better. It's for my emotional state feeling better because I feel better emotionally when I'm not putting all of these bad things in my body that make me moody. Eating healthy, being healthy, all of that is for me. It's for me and knowing I'm gonna live a longer, healthier life and that peace of mind. It's not for anybody else. And that's I feel like doing it for everybody else is not a big enough why, and eventually you're gonna stop and you're not gonna do it long term unless you are heavily committed to being a people pleaser your entire life. But eventually you're gonna get burnt out. If you do it for you and you take it slow and you do your best every day and you're not overworking yourself, you're not burning yourself out, and you're doing it simply because it makes you feel better, long term, it's going to be so much better. I promise you. And that is something I learned this year the hard way. We've had a lot of trial and error when it comes to me and my health and all kinds of things going on with disorders and things like that I've had most of my life, or I've carried and picked up along the way, and finding that medium, that happy place that I can do for me has been a game changer. There's nothing wrong with prioritizing peace. I've said this 1,000 times and I'll say it 1,000 more times. You prioritizing your own peace is not a problem. People are going to make it a problem because most of the time it's going to inconvenience other people. If you set boundaries, it's going to inconvenience other people. And when you prioritize your peace, you have to set boundaries. So people are going to make you sound like a bad person. People are going to fight back, but there is nothing wrong with prioritizing your peace. And in the long term, you are making yourself better and healthier so that you can better serve other people and you can pour from a full cup rather than an empty cup. Number 5, you're always going to be a villain to someone. Always. You cannot please everyone. Even if you don't know someone and they just are scrolling on Instagram and they see a picture of you and they think, gosh, I wish I had her, whatever, and they become jealous of you for whatever reason that may be, you're the villain in someone's life. And do you guys hear that chihuahua? Where is that? It is going ham outside. Wow, okay. You're going to be the villain in someone's life, whether you realize it or not, whether you like it or not. It's inevitable. So stop trying so hard not to be. Everyone's always going to have a problem with you, so you might as well just be yourself and do your own thing. And if someone has a problem with that and you genuinely are, now my dog has started, she has heard the chihuahua. You genuinely are moving with kindness and you are not being a malevolent person. You're working from a place of love. If other people think that you're the villain for that, then that's not your problem. Okay? That is their problem that they need to work through. They have some internal things going on, and as long as you are working with the best of intentions, you are okay. You're doing great. You're doing great, sweetie. Number 6, rest is productive. Okay? Say it with me. Rest is productive. I used to think that resting meant you were weak, it meant you were lazy, it meant you didn't have goals. That is not true. I don't know what was going on in my head. Rest is productive. You have to rest so that you can be the best person you can be when it comes to all of your other things. You are more efficient when you rest because you have the energy to get things done quicker and better. You are just an overall better person when you rest. You are not burnt out, your mental health is better, your emotional health is better, all of the wellness wheel when it comes to you is better. Rest is productive. Rest more. I guarantee you're not resting enough if you are a big, ambitious girly and you haven't made it a priority in your life yet. Number 7, the best things take time. Enjoy the process. An example is the podcast. It's taken a while for it to take off, which is normal. The average time that it takes for a podcast to become a full-time thing is 2 years. I've been doing it for 1.5 years. So yes, it takes time, but it is so much sweeter when things happen. Like if an episode blows up, or when the Spotify Wrapped came out and I got to see how amazing the stats were, those moments are so much sweeter because of all of the hard work I've put into it, and it's taught me to enjoy the process. I enjoy every single moment well, maybe not every single moment, but probably a solid 90% of the time, I enjoy doing the podcast. I enjoy the passion and love that I put into every single episode and responding to you guys on all of social media. Like, the process is so much sweeter, and if it would have happened overnight, like say it would have blown up overnight, not to say that I wouldn't have enjoyed it just as much, but I feel like it's so much sweeter and so much better when you've worked so hard for something and then it happens over time. My end goal, and I've said this 100 times, my end goal is longevity. I want to be doing the podcast for years. I want the podcast to be something I am doing in 10 years. And that's not something that I rush into and do short term. You know, it's a long-term thing. I'm playing the long game. So I'm taking my time and putting love into it and watching things grow and doing trial and error rather than doing a get-rich-quick short-term kind of thing that you would do with something else. And it's so much sweeter when something amazing happens. And every single subscriber, every single follower, every single anything that happens on any single platform, I celebrate. Like, I don't think you guys realize, any single time I get one more subscriber, follower, whatever, on any platform, because I'm checking all of them, I throw a little party, I squeal like a little girl, I get so excited, and I don't think that I would look at you guys, I don't know, I think it's hard to look at people when you gain a bunch of following at once, to look at each individual person and be like, I see you, I love you, I'm so excited you're here. It's hard to do that when you get a massive following overnight. That happened with my animals' social media. They got a big following overnight, and it's like, do I look at all of them and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for you? Yes, but I don't cherish it the same way that I look at you guys, and I feel like we're in this together, and it's just like this amazing community that I love so much and I cherish so much, and I don't know if I would cherish it in the same way if it wasn't like a long-term thing that is slowly growing. Does that make sense? I don't know. That's just an example of something that has taken a long time, and it's so much sweeter because of that, and it's so much more meaningful because it has taken a long time. Number 8 is slow down. I tend to do everything fast. Even like I walk at a fast pace because I'm anxious and I need to get somewhere, and I don't slow down to enjoy the moment. And this year I really learned to slow down and cherish it, and it's become such a beautiful thing. Like, life is so much sweeter because I slow down to enjoy it and live in the present and love the small moments. I've talked about it so much. I've done so many podcast episodes about living in the present because it's become something that is so much more meaningful to me and has become more of a practice in my life. Number 9, take time to reach out to others. I used to be of the mindset of like, oh, if people loved me, they would reach out to me. Like, if people cared about me, they would reach out to me and I'll just respond. But it works both ways. Like, being busy is not an excuse to not reach out to people. Like, I used to be like, oh, I'm so busy. They know I'm busy. If they really want to talk to me, they'll reach out to me. No. Reach out to other people. Take time to check in on people. Take time to make sure other people are okay. A relationship is two ways. And I'm not saying I didn't like do nice things for people, but I really heavily relate on them to make the initial connection, and then I would respond to that. So I made it a more of a priority to reach out to people and make sure they're okay and not just rely on them reaching out to me. Number 10, a clean environment is the key to a clear mind and a productive life. I can't do anything if my house isn't clean, if my environment isn't clean, if it isn't curated to exactly the way I like for it to be, the aesthetic I need to be in a productive mood. And maybe that's my OCD kicking in, or maybe that's a worldwide thing, but having a clean environment is a game changer. It's literally the key to having a productive life. I'm not even kidding. Just putting habits in to have a clean environment is everything to me. Number 11, everything happens for a reason at the time that it's supposed to. I am heavy into manifesting. I've made a lot of manifesting videos. I literally made one about vision boards not that long ago. However, I went from like desperately manifesting things and saying like, oh, I have to manifest this because I want it right now, to trusting the timing of God or the universe, whatever you believe in, trusting that to let things happen when they're meant to. And it's taken the pressure off of me feeling like I have to make things happen right now. And I think that trusting that everything happens when it's meant to, I 100% believe that. I do. And I think sometimes things happen and you think to yourself, man, that was horrible, and you won't know why that happened for years. Like, you won't know the reason why that happened for a few years. And then one day it's going to click and you're going to say, oh, I get it. I get why that happened. But everything does happen for a reason, and the reason is for the greater good. And you may not know for a while, but manifesting is fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but when you are desperate to make things happen in your time, it takes away from everything happening for a reason. And I think that you may miss out on a lot of beautiful things if you're so focused on making one thing happen in the time that it's not meant to happen yet. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but it's not meant to happen yet. And you miss out on a lot of beautiful things because you are so focused on that. Whether you manifest it into your life or not, you are so focused on it, you miss out on the present and a lot of beautiful things that could have been wonderful, amazing things had you not missed it because you're so focused on something else. Number 12, love those around you while you can. People are not going to be on this world, on this earth forever. People are going to eventually leave. Animals are going to leave. Pets are going to leave. People are going to leave. And your time with people is limited. I know it's a kind of sad thought and a deep thought and not something everyone wants to think about all the time, but you never know when it's someone's last moment. So make sure that you are pouring into other people and loving them while you can so that you don't have any regrets about it when they leave. And like I said, I know it's a deep, sad thought, but it's something that I learned this past year, and there are some moments I wish I would have loved someone harder while I still could, and it's something that I've really, really, really taken into account and prioritized family more because of moving into 2024. 13. People pleasing hurts those you're trying to please and yourself in the long run. Not me losing my voice. So an example I have of this is if you know that a relationship is not benefiting you or the other person. Let's use a romantic relationship as an example. By staying in a relationship with them to people please because you don't want to be the one to break it off and inconvenience them, you're actually inconveniencing them more because you're keeping them from having a relationship that better suits them, their needs, their lifestyle. So if neither one of you are happy, why would you people please and stick around? You're inconveniencing both of you. And in some situations, by people pleasing, say you aren't setting boundaries with your boss and they're putting too much on your plate. You are people pleasing by enabling them to allow you to do that. And then in the long run, when eventually you get burnt out or something bad happens, they are going to have all of this on their plate because you can't do it. And they could have just better managed it to begin with when you set your boundaries, and no one could have gotten hurt. So people pleasing inconveniences everyone in the situation, which I, as a people pleaser, a recovering people pleaser, this was a game changer for me because the whole point of people pleasing is to not inconvenience other people. So when you realize that you're actually inconveniencing them more by people pleasing, it made me stop and set boundaries to begin with because I don't want to inconvenience them at all. And by doing the people pleasing, it's more of a inconvenience. So I went for the lesser option of inconveniencing them by setting boundaries to begin with. Did that make sense? Take a shot every time I said inconvenience. 14, stop making excuses and start making changes. Don't go overboard and burn yourself out, but if you, for example, I spent a lot of time making excuses for not walking my dogs. Well, there's 2 of them. They pull really hard. They're really hard to walk. Josh works, so I can't take both of them by myself. And I just had to sit myself down and be like, girl, and hold on, let me preface this. They do go in our backyard and get a lot of playtime. They aren't like not getting time at all. It's just walking them is healthier for me and them because one of my dogs is a little overweight and she needs to walk to shed the weight and I need to walk to shed some weight. But I wasn't doing it because if I take one, the other one stays at home and cries and the neighbors get mad and it's a whole thing. So I sat myself down and I said, look, Grace, you need to train them. They used to be really good walking. I know they can get back into it. We just stopped walking them as much because we live in a neighborhood now where they have a backyard and we don't have to walk them, so we got really lazy and whatever. I sat myself down and said, listen, we're not making excuses anymore. We're getting them a better harness. We're taking them for short walks and working them up to long walks. We are walking them. I don't care if it's cold out. I don't care if it's rainy out. You need to walk them for Evie to lose some weight and you to lose some weight, and you are not going to keep going and feeling sorry for yourself and guilty because you don't walk them as much as you should. That is just a small example that has really ate me up and made me feel guilty about, but I stopped making excuses. I've also done this with the gym. I've done this with eating. I've done this with a lot of things where I've made excuses and said, oh, well, I work so hard. Oh, I don't have time. Oh, blah, blah, blah. No. Make changes. Whether it's getting a harness to better walk your dog, not eating out as much so that you have gas to go to the gym, so that you can't say you don't have money for gas to go to the gym. Like, there's little things you can do that make things work. It's not about not having time. It's about better managing your time. Number 15, if something isn't working, it's okay to pivot. Take the time to notice you need to pivot to begin with. Example, the podcast. Love the podcast, obviously. But we went through a time where we were very, very, very stagnant. We weren't growing for like 6 months. And instead of stopping to be like, maybe I should market this differently, maybe I should do this, and brainstorming and taking the time to even notice that we weren't growing, I was just going balls to the wall, hitting as many podcasts out, doing as many as I can, just saying like, oh, if I keep doing the same thing but post more, things will change. No, work smarter, not harder. If you need to stop and take the time to strategize a new plan and pivot, that is okay. But you need to sit down long enough and analyze long enough and notice that something is wrong. If you're going 100%, 100% of the time, you're not going to have the ability to stop and notice that something is wrong. And you're not going to have the energy to strategize something new. Like brainstorming, you need a lot of creative energy to do. And if you are 100% working 100% of the time, you are not going to have the ability or the energy to come up with creative solutions. Number 16, take the trips. You have your whole life to pay it off. I'm not saying to go thousands of dollars into debt over a single trip, but if it's like $1,000, $1,500, $500 that you would have to use of your credit card, those memories are going to be totally worth it. You are only young once. You are only in your 20s once. Even if you're not and you're watching this, you only get those opportunities once in a lifetime. And if you have to take a couple months to pay down a credit card after you took a trip of a lifetime, then do it. Take the trips, go on the adventures, make the memories, and pay off the debt over time. I'm not saying, I'm going to reiterate, I'm not saying to go thousands of dollars into debt, but if it's probably anything under $1,500, $1,000, take the trip. You'll cherish those memories forever, forever, okay? I took 3 trips this year. I went to Miami, I went to Vegas, and I went to Gatlinburg. And did I have money for any of those trips? No. But I used my credit cards, and then I paid it down, and then I went on another trip, and I paid it down, went on another trip. Okay? You will make it work. Take that step, and everything's going to fall into place. 17. There's a Taylor Swift lyric for everything. Maybe I should have made that fact number 13. Anyway, Taylor and I reconnected this year. I have loved Taylor since debut came out. I remember where I was when I heard our song on the radio for the first time. I love Taylor. I'm a Taylor girl. But we reconnected this year with everything going on. I did get to go to the Eras tour, and that's my girl. And there's a Taylor Swift lyric for everything. I re-fell in love with all of her music. I re-fell in love with everything about her. I love her. She's a genius, and she definitely has gotten me through however long she's been around. I've been around listening, and I love her. I grew up with her. There's a lyric to solve any problem. Number 18. Solve for long term, not short term. It may take you a little bit of extra time and effort to find a long-term solution versus a short-term, but stop putting band-aids on things because they're going to inevitably fall apart again. We fix things for the long term. We don't put little band-aids on them and hope for the best. I've always been a short-term person where there's been so much chaos in my life that I've been like, we're going to fix this now and then come back to it later, and then I never come back to it, and then it falls apart even more chaotically in a much bigger way, and I should have just took the time to fix it for the long term, spent a little bit more money in the first place. So solve for long term, not for short term. 19. You are not perfect. You are allowed to make mistakes. People will still love you. Just make sure you learn from those mistakes. I'm a perfectionist. I have raging OCD. I am a high achiever. I feel like people aren't going to love me if I don't be the best at everything I do, and I'm learning that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not be the best. It's okay to not be perfect. People are still going to love me. And as long as I learn from those mistakes, it's okay. People don't expect you to be perfect. People don't expect you to not make mistakes. People do expect you to learn from them and not make them over and over and over again. But if you make a mistake, no one is going to hate you. No one is going to cut you off. No one is going to leave you. You are loved. You are wanted. And you are okay. You're okay. You can make a mistake. It's okay. Number 20. No one knows anything in their 20s. Have fun with being naive. Your 20s are a dressing room. There's a song called Love and War in Your 20s. And in it, he says your 20s are for wasting time. And that is so true. Your life is a dressing room. Okay? Try on different lives until you find one that fits. You don't like your career? Change it. You have your whole life ahead of you. Do not waste your entire life in a career you don't love. You don't like your relationship? You don't feel like he's the one? Leave. You will find someone who you know is the one. There's so many different... You don't like where you live? Girl, you have your whole life. Don't spend your whole life somewhere you don't absolutely love. Your 20s are a dressing room. You don't know everything. You won't know everything. And you need to take that leap without knowing anything. You need to be content with being naive. You need to embrace not knowing everything. It's a good thing. If you knew everything, you would probably overthink everything. So just take the leap. If you don't like something, change it. Your 20s are a dressing room. They're for wasting time. They're for figuring out what you want. Your whole life is not going to end because you realize you don't like the career path you're on and you quote unquote wasted however many years you've been doing it. Now is the time to change. Now, there's no better time than now. 21. You don't know everything, and that's okay. I talked about this a little bit in the last part, but I'm someone who likes to know every single possible fact before I decide on something or do something or whatever. And I'm learning that it's okay to not know everything, and you're going to be fine. It's fun to not know everything. It's fun to take risks and not know what's going to happen. It's a beautiful thing. Learning as you go is a beautiful, beautiful thing that you should appreciate more and embrace. Number 22, your default state should be kindness, love, and gratitude. As long as you are operating from a state of kindness, love, and gratitude, all is well. The world could be falling apart, but as long as you are using kindness, love, and gratitude to operate and navigate your daily life, all is going to work out for you. All is going to be fine. Number 23, our last lesson for 23 lessons I learned this year is you have to get lost intentionally to find yourself. Don't get too caught up in it and embrace it instead. I decided that I didn't like who I was. I didn't really know who I was, but I knew I wasn't going down a track that I wanted to go down. And so I intentionally lost myself to find myself again. I deconstructed a lot of beliefs. I left a lot of relationships or moved on from a lot of relationships. I made a lot of changes in my life that made me feel lost. I feel lost. I don't know who I am. I don't know. I cannot confidently tell you who I am, what I am doing with my life or anything. And I intentionally got lost. I used to be able to tell you all those things about myself, and now I don't know. And instead of being panicked and saying I have to know, I'm embracing it, I'm loving it, I'm finding the beauty in it, because I know that one day or another, everything is going to fall into place and I'm going to know who I am. Or maybe I won't. Maybe the whole point of life is to be lost your entire life and to continue finding yourself. I don't know. But I just know that you have to lose yourself before you find yourself. And that's a beautiful thing that we should all be embracing. Those are my 23 lessons that I learned in 2023. Like I said, leave down below however many lessons you want to tell us that you have learned this year. And before we go, let's talk about my big announcement. I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but I wanted to take a big trip in 2024 for my 25th birthday. I decided that instead of having a big party, I wanted to travel somewhere. And I had some ideas, but I wasn't really sure. And there's one thing I've always wanted to do. I wanted to do it for my 25th birthday, or 21st birthday, but I turned 21 in April of 2020, and the world shut down in March. So obviously I couldn't go anywhere for my 21st birthday. So, you guys, I mentioned doing this to Josh, but I didn't know how it would happen. I just said, I kind of want to do this. And for Christmas, he got me tickets. So, drum roll, in April of 2024, I will be going to Coachella. Pew, 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 pew. So Josh got me tickets to Coachella. I've always wanted to go. I said I want to go for my 21st. We're going for my 25th, and I am so excited. But what does this mean for you guys? This means more content. We're going to be doing a whole series on how to navigate Coachella as like a normal person. Like, it's not like I got tickets through a brand. It's not like I'm going with a brand. It's not like I'm someone famous. Like, I am just your average Joe going because I've always wanted to go. And so I'm gonna do a whole series on it, on booking things, on what I'm gonna wear, on things to do and not do. I think it's gonna be so fun. I'm so excited, and I'm looking at this like we are going to Coachella. You and me, baby, we are going. So let me know what you want to know about it, and I will definitely include that in the series. I'm so excited for 2024. I hope you are excited as well. This is the last episode, right? Last episode before 2024. Let me look at my calendar real quick. Well, Sunday will be on the 31st. I don't know. We'll probably do an episode on Sunday. But this is probably the last one that I'm going to be really talking about 2023 versus 2024. So I just want to say it has been an amazing year. Thank you so much, guys. I love you so much. You have made this year amazing for me. I cannot wait to see what happens in 2024. I cannot wait to see the growth, the fun things, the amazing things that are coming our way. Thank you for being amazing. I love you guys so much. And don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, leave a rating and review, share with your besties. You know the drill. We are a community of women working to become the best version of ourselves, focused primarily on women in your 20s, but any other people are obviously welcome to come and enjoy the podcast and grow as a human being with us. I love you guys so much. I'm so excited to see what happens in the new year. I upload every single Sunday and Wednesday. If you're watching this on the Wednesday night it comes out, I hope you have a great night. If you're watching this on any other day, I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, or night. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next podcast episode. Bye, guys.